I mean, what's the purpose of it?
Right.
If it's to get away from my kids, I think representing all the married with children, there's no way we can do it.
Is emergency fund now or just mental health fund?
If it's fun for you, create the fun.
Everybody's parents will tell you, hey, you need to save for a rainy day. Okay, 1, rainy day doesn't come. 2, if I were to really go and list down everything, my emergency fund will be my entire net worth. How do I figure out what is enough? Like you were saying previously that it's supposed to be short term. What is short term? And what do I cover within the short term? And does it change in terms of like what should my emergency fund cover? Do I cover myself? Do I cover me and my dog? Do I cover me and my entire family? What are we doing with this money?
Logically, if we can envision what are the bigger bills in life, usually, or let's say in the Singapore context, the number one biggest bill would probably be hospital bill. So of course, for those who can get insurance, get a hospital insurance, that's so cheap.
Yeah.
But barring that, right, the only other emergency we should really plan for is if you're out of job for whatever reasons.
Right. So, but then don't you plan for that? Because we're now talking about sabbaticals where you're taking a break, right? So when you take a break, you should plan for it, ma. So is that still emergency fund then?
I think a lot of times it's unforeseen expenses. Yeah.
Okay.
So even if your insurance does cover majority of the bills, there are cases where your whole lifestyle might change. Right. If you need a caretaker, right, you need mobility assistance, or you feel that I want to spend a lot more on my family because maybe I realize I have less time left. You know, I want to spend quality time, so I want to go explore the world even more. Right. So I start to change my expenses. So what was initially like, oh yeah, I just need a few grand per month. Actually, I realized in order to do travel the whole world with them, I need at least an additional 2K per month. So all these things do factor into the amount that I need to set aside for my new emergency in that sense. Yeah.
Right. Logically speaking, shouldn't the emergency funds be more for like really things you cannot plan for? Because sabbatical you can plan. It's not like tomorrow you feel burnout. It's like you will feel the burnout coming. So if let's say you feel like Monday a bit don't want to go to work, okay, you start saving up for your sabbatical, right? So now I have a 3-part question. 1, okay, do I save for a sabbatical and determine the length of my sabbatical based on how much I manage to save before I burn out? 2, I determine that I need to take a 3-month sabbatical when I burn out, and therefore that's how much I save. And 3, if let's say I haven't achieved my goals, is mental health enough of a reason to dip into my emergency funds?
Good question. I guess I can do the first one. Yeah, the first one is about whether I need to plan ahead for my sabbatical. 100% you should, because a lot of times what clients have in mind is that, I want to go for a 1-year sabbatical. But when you look at your savings, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. One day, maybe. So I have to be that objective voice of reason to tell them, hey, you can go. I think it's always that. Whether you can or cannot, it's not that spectrum. It's rather you can have both. But how do we find that middle ground? Right. So if you want to go for 12 months, how about 3 months? You still get to enjoy 3 months. You won't go crazy having 9 months lesser, right? But you actually have the means to save for it. Because I think the crunch is when they want to save for it, but they're also burning out at the same time. Right?
Yes.
So okay, why not just go earlier? Go for a shorter one. You're still gonna enjoy. You just need a break. And a lot of times after 1 week, they're like, hey, I'm okay already, actually. Yeah. So just have a place where you are able to shift your flag. Yeah.
Logically, shouldn't it be, I don't plan how far or how long I go. I plan I go. Then however much I can save to the point where I break, I go. Right? Is that more logical, or is there like some financial logic behind of why you shouldn't just save up to and then just spend whenever you feel like you cannot save anymore, you need to go?
I think if the planning of the sabbatical is too complicated, too stressful, there's a very simple way to do it. We call it a travel fund. Okay. Right, so for all my clients, I always plan this for them. It's a travel fund. Basically, from the get-go when we're together, how much do you need every year to go on a vacation.
Right.
Right. No matter how long, just tell me what amount will make you happy.
Right.
Right. And so some people will be like 10K, some will be 6K, some will be 3K. And this amount is usually above what they are happy with.
Right.
So as long as we know that there's this figure every year, like what you did, every month, if I have something to use it on, I use it. Same way, if they choose to have a vacation that year, they have that 10K ready anytime.
Right.
Anywhere in the world you can go. So they already pre-decide this amount.
Right.
Takes away the brain work and everything. And if they don't use it, guess what? Next year they have 20K. Right? You can go on a very long trip. So you dumb it down to very simple things and it becomes palatable for most of them. So then it reduces the stress to have to plan all these things. Yeah.
Okay, then I'm going to shoot a question to Josh. When you come plan for sabbatical, who do you bring? Do you just bring yourself? Because some people sabbatical from the family one, no?
It depends on... I mean, what's the purpose of it?
Right.
If it's to get away from my kids, then I may... obviously, I'm not going to bring them. For me, I'm very happy with like family trips or individual trips, which I sometimes do for myself. So if not trips, but really like sabbatical, I think representing all the married with children, there's no way we can do it.
That's why a bit hard to answer the question. Because I don't think we will take a sabbatical.
I don't think it's actually even possible till maybe like the kids are a little bit more independent.
Right.
And when you talk about budgeting, I think as someone who have like a family, the funds that we save up for really more for emergency than sabbatical. Yeah, like in the event if like, it's very common like as when family have newborns and they want, maybe either parents wants to take like a slower paced job just to take care of the children and all, right?
Yeah.
So those probably the emergency funds can be used even though it's a decision that you have made.
Correct.
Yeah, but sabbatical away from the kids, like a long one, I don't think it's possible.
Actually, I think the more you talk about it, right, it sounds like if I'm able to pinroot the problem, I can address the problem. Whereas a sabbatical is like, no matter how you think about it, you can't figure, and that's why you're taking so much time away from everything just to reset, recalibrate yourself, to discover purpose and to figure out what exactly is the problem. So it seems like for most cases, when I can pinpoint a problem, I don't need that longer time to address it, right? I just make sure I take maybe one day off or my weekend to think through how can I solve this issue. But if it comes to a point where it's constantly bugging me and I just can't seem to find out the problem, then that's where I realized that, okay, maybe I need to take a longer break to rediscover myself. And that's where the instinct to like, okay, I need to set aside some money for this if I'm going for a longer break.
Right.
I don't think most people come in like, okay, I need to plan for a sabbatical. Like, practically no lah, doesn't work like that.
Imagine Josh like when he was young, he'd be like, okay, I have planned for children, house, my sabbatical, my second sabbatical. No, but okay, fair. Yeah, but that's still a strain, no? Because your money, it's not like, okay, when you feel like you're burning out, suddenly your paycheck increase. Yeah. Right? It's still going to be the same, but now you have some other thing to set aside. Where's the safest place to dig out money from your sabbatical? Because at this point of time, okay, so I said a premise, you're very, very stressed, you're on burnout. Taking away from my liquid funds for my enjoyment seems like a crazy idea. Just make myself even more sad, right? I take away from places like bills and stuff like that. Cannot be what? That money has to go somewhere. What? If not, then the people come and hey, why you never pay up? So where the money come from? Is emergency fund the only way to solve this problem? Is emergency fund now our just mental health fund for us to like deal with unforeseen circumstances? Because most of the foreseeable circumstances, most insurance will cover. So we are safe on that one.
Like if it's fun for you, create the fun. So, and it comes with knowing what is your fun. Yeah, if my fun is to go off on sabbatical, if that's what I feel is absolutely necessary, then can I from today create a fun? Intentionally to get away.
Correct.
Yeah. And also for me, I speak from experience because actually, even though I say I was happily divorced, the first 3 years I was in mental health hell. Yeah. So for me, because I manage my own business as a self-employed, I don't have to take leave per se, but I can scale down my business to take care of. That time was COVID as well, and I cannot travel out.
Right.
Yeah. So, but thankfully, there were enough emergency funds. I had to dip into my emergency fund, but my emergency fund was large enough to cover me. Even though I say three years, it wasn't like my income dropped to zero. Like I was still seeing clients, but less. Yeah, to take care of myself. So I feel a lot about this topic because nowadays everyone's like stressed out, burnt out. That's why actually, I know it's easier said than done, but really it's like just chill out.
Correct, yeah.
Don't be so hard on yourself and push yourself.
So you were lucky enough to have enough padding that somehow it stayed within the confines of your emergency fund, right? But that means that you had the foresight to increase it big enough. So now how big do we need to make it? Because some people's money system has like a percentage, right? And it's always based on whatever you're currently emergency for. Then when we calculate on the fact that, okay, insurance cover this, cover that, how do I know how much percentage my mental health is worth?
It's hard. There's a simple answer and the not so simple one.
Right.
So the simple one is like the textbook answer, right? Or 3 to 6 months, or if you're a bit more kiasu, 12 months of expenses.
Right.
So if you spend generally 2,000 every month, 6 months will be 12K lah. Once you hit that, you're good to go. Anything else is whatever funds that you want to have. Travel fund, whatever mental health fund, right? However, the not so simple answer is, like in my case, right, it was 3 years of taking like sort of like a pay cut, like intentionally. So it was because I was lucky to have a larger buffer.
Right.
But to be frank, sometimes I do wonder, what if I was someone not as privileged?
Correct.
Or when I talk to a lot of my clients and a lot of the conversation is mental health or with my friends and things like that. What if a person doesn't have that amount of funds and they dry up really? And we have friends or like people who sibling is like schizophrenia. They just never are able to hold a job. Yeah, or doing almost like being like a dependent.
Right.
Yeah. Or what if myself, like I degenerate to a place where I just cannot work anymore? Then really the frank thing is you have to lean onto your social support.
That's
where family comes in. If you have a partner and whatsoever lah. So to your point about maybe being single is also.
So is it an emotional figure of I think this should be enough? Then that is where you stop. Because some people can be like paranoia, they just keep saving emergency funds. They just squirrel away like some crazy nut person. No? Then your life quality will be affected. Correct. Is it an emotional sum then?
I think there's two things. So for this, because I have clients, just need this 300K in the basic bank, which is giving 0.05%.
Yep.
And she spends only like 3K a month. So really, if you blow it up to 12 months, it's 36K you need, but you're saving 10 times more.
Right.
So first one is education. Can I educate the client that she doesn't need so much?
Right.
But sometimes they just want to be themselves. Then the second part is the understanding that this is let's work with that.
Right.
Yeah, because she can save more than 300K, so let's work with that. Similarly, people who want to pay off their HDB fast or their condos fast, just to save off the interest. You can educate them all you want, but if they really don't want to budge, then I understand you and I respect your wishes. But let's optimize from there.
100% true. I had a client, wanted to lump sum her condo.
Okay.
And the sum is not small, right? It's a few $1 million. And I was showing her all the numbers. No, there's so many better ways to do this, but because it's an emotional figure, it just stuck in their head. It's a thing that you just can't move out.
Right.
So I think that's where the place where we have to respect that everyone has their own preference, and there's only so much you can do about it.
Wow, what are they nice?
So long ago he forgot.
I always think that dating doesn't have to be expensive for it to
Right.
be fun.
Oh, but it's a very wild thought if the significant other finds out that I'm a $500 girl to you.
This one we can't help it because we are rich and handsome.
Hey, let's go!